Hey everyone, a number of you are new to Oakland and are voting in our elections for the first time. Undoubtedly you're wondering what ranked choice voting is all about, and that's why I made this vlog. This is a history of ranked choice voting you're not going to get anywhere else. Let me begin. Ranked choice voting really started because we had between 1998 and 2004 and then 2006 an inordinate number of elections that resulted in runoff elections. So we would have persons who would be up against one another in the June primary for, say, city council. And you would have, for example, for District 2, Pat Kernaghan versus Amy Allison versus Shirley Gee and others. Kernaghan, Allison, and Gee were the top vote getters, but under the old system, Shirley Gee dropped out in a very controversial way that she, to this day, is still completely upset about, and it became a challenge between Amy Allison and Pat Kernaghan. Pat Kernaghan always won the majority white vote by far. Amy Allison won most of the minority vote, but Pat was able to get enough of the minority vote to put her over the top against Amy. And this happened twice, not once, but twice. It was felt then by some observers that under a ranked choice system, Amy would have been the winner because she would have picked up Shirley Gee's supporters more so than Pat did. Now, that's a controversial take because Pat had great ties in the Asian community at the time, but nonetheless, I'm explaining that given Amy's performance in picking up minority voters, combined with Shirley Gee's power in the Asian community, there is a logical and effective argument that has to be made, and that has been made, that Amy Allison would have been the council member instead of Pat Kernaghan. So you had one block of people who were very dissatisfied with the then common voting system. The trouble is that we didn't have the machines to do what was called then instant runoff voting and what is now called ranked choice voting. There's another group who, looking strictly at the inordinate number of runoff elections we were having, said, this is costing us a lot of money. We would save money by going to an instant runoff system. And then there was a third group who believed that our then current system was archaic, and that a number of places around the world, in Europe and up north in the Bay Area, but just right across the border in Berkeley, were using modern voting systems that really gave, and this goes back to my first discussion regarding voting challenges, minorities and minority parties better representation. So all of those groups came together in a perfect storm of politics in Oakland and crafted Measure O, which passed in 2006. But remember, we didn't have the machines to properly do instant runoff / ranked choice voting then. We needed a number of years to wait for those machines to be tested, and then installed, and then tested, and then finally used. The first year of their use was 2010. And it was that year, in the Oakland mayor's race, we had a number of very qualified candidates, about 14 in all. But of that 14, 10 who were really seriously battling for the job. And of that 10, the agreed upon frontrunner was a man by the name of Don Parada. Don has a long history in Oakland East Bay politics, actually in California politics. He was a longtime Alameda County supervisor. He was a person instrumental in bringing the Raiders back to Oakland from Los Angeles. He was a California state senator, and generally has been regarded as a kind of a political fix-it guy who's great at using relationships to craft legislation to create laws to get things done. That's Don Perrotta. He had challengers, most notably a person who is running for re-election right now, Rebecca Kaplan, Oakland School Board member Jean Quan, who had risen to the point of being the Oakland District 4 council member, and a number of other people that were challenging for that spot in the mayor's race. Don Perrotta received 35% of the first choice votes. In this ranked choice voting election, you could pick 1, 2, 3. We didn't go for the full list. In other words, if you had 10 choices, you're probably saying, why didn't we pick all 10? And there was a reason having to do with the machine cost and calibration that prevented us from using a type of mechanism that would get us the ability to pick a ranked choice equal to the number of people running for a seat. You understand? So in other words, again, if there were 10 people running for mayor, you'd have 10 choices. You rank them 1 to 10. But in our system, you can only rank them 1 to 3. Now, Jean Quan and Rebecca Kaplan teamed up, and I remember I was at a debate, and I may have that at Zennia62.com, where the pair openly, in fact I do, the pair openly said that you should vote for one of them. You pick Jean number 1, and if you do that, you pick Rebecca number 2, or if you feel that Rebecca is your number 1, then they would say, please pick Jean number 2. That strategy really worked. This is how well it worked. On the day after the election, I was interviewing my friend John Russo, who was then a city attorney of Oakland. He's now city manager, Riverside, California. And this is on a video at Zennia62 on YouTube. John said to me, right now, it looks like Don Perrotta is the winner. And then John said, and I quote, the only way, because Jean was next in terms of vote count, next most vote gainer. But then John said this, because not all the votes had been tallied. We got the first choice, right? But we had not received the second choice, the third choice, and we hadn't received the flow down of votes. In other words, the way it works is like this. You say, okay, you have 10 people. Who has the most votes? This person, this person, this person. Okay, of the second choice, who has the most? And then, okay, of the second choicers, how many votes did the first choice person get of the second round, and the third, and the fourth, and so on? And when you tally the votes, the person at the low end gets dropped out, and then you do recount. There's another dropout, and so on, and so on, and so on, until you get a person who has the most votes in all of the rounds of vote counting, right? John said that the only way Jean Quan could win is if she received 2/3 of the second choice votes. That was the only way. The next day, the Registrar of Voters came out with its official tally of all the votes in all the rounds. And guess what happened? Precisely that. So John calls me on the phone and he says, Zenny, take that video down. I said, why? He said, because I said what I said was wrong. I thought Don was the winner. I didn't think that was going to happen. I said, but wait, John, you're a genius, because you explained what might happen, and that did happen. So I'm not taking the video down. It remains. Jean Quan became our mayor, and she became the first female mayor and first female Asian mayor in Oakland's history. Now, ranked choice voting had other similar dynamics as well. for me, the best example is the 2012 Oakland City Council race for the District 3 seat. The front runner in that race was Sean Sullivan. Sean Sullivan routinely outpolled everyone. He was considered to be the favorite. But when the election happened, of the 6 qualified candidates, 4 of the 6 were black. And the ranked choice voting tallies were such that the black candidates traded voters. What I mean by that is this. If you took the black candidates exclusively, Derek Mohammed and others, they had supporters that were only picking other black candidates as their favorites, not Sean. Not Sean. So that while Sean received the first or the greatest number of first choice votes, guess what happened? When all the tallies were done, Lynette Gibson McElhaney emerged as the winner, not Sean Sullivan. And the primary reason was that there was a black voting bloc. Remember my discussion regarding Pat Kernaghan and Amy Allison and Shirley Gee? If we had ranked choice voting then, Amy Allison and not Pat Kernaghan would have been the council member for the same reasons that put Lynette Gibson McElhaney into office in 2012, where she is now running for re-election and our Oakland City Council president. So that is an example of how powerful ranked choice voting is, and how a minority of people, a block of people, can actually swing an election. But it has to be a focused, concerted effort. So there's your guide to ranked choice voting. And now you understand why we have it in Oakland. And all I say to you now is this. Please get out and vote if you haven't already.